Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.
From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Thursday, June 4th. I'm Wayne Pratt. More protests are planned for today as the region continues to mark the death of George Floyd. Hundreds took to the streets of St. Charles yesterday in 2 marches to demonstrate against police brutality. Those protests occurred as Senator Roy Blunt hopes the demonstrations over the past week prompt the president to reconsider his decision to pare down the use of consent decrees.
If the question is what can the federal government do to make a difference here, it's an answer, and there aren't very many answers out there.
Blunt says resuming the use of decrees is a way to overhaul police departments. We'll have more on that in just a bit. Also today, St. Louis Public Radio's Ryan Delaney reports on a unique commencement being held during the pandemic. As we mentioned, protesters are planning to take to the streets of the St. Louis area again today. Several demonstrations occurred yesterday, including a couple in St. Charles. Demonstrators blocked traffic for a time on Route 94. Those protests over the past week are prompting Missouri Senator Roy Blunt to call on the federal government to resume examining police practices. The Republican is pointing to Missouri's experience to encourage change after protests for police accountability. St. Louis Public Radio's Jason Rosenbaum reports.
Blunt wants the Justice Department to resume examining police departments' patterns and practices and to pursue consent decrees like the one in Ferguson. That document required changes to the city's police department and government after Michael Brown's 2014 shooting death. Blunt says this move could be more impactful in the wake of George Floyd's death than anything Congress could pass.
I'm not of the view that there's a lot of legislative solutions here that can deal with things that happen internally in a department. But I think what we've seen in our state is good reason to understand that this can help.
President Donald Trump's administration has pared down the use of consent decrees since he took office. I'm Jason Rosenbaum, St. Louis Public Radio.
A media advocacy organization associated with Rex Sinkfeld is funding a ballot initiative pushing for a vote on airport privatization. As St. Louis Public Radio's Corinne Ruff reports, the billionaire provided consultants and funding for the city's last attempt to lease Lambert International.
St. Louis Mayor Lyda Krewson pulled the plug on airport privatization about 6 months ago, but the Carpenters Union and the St. Louis NAACP are trying to revive those efforts under a newly created organization called St. Louis Rising. State campaign finance records show that media advocacy organization Pelopidas has donated nearly $75,000 to the cause. The company's founder, Travis Brown, previously served as the lead consultant reporting to the city on airport privatization. His dual roles came under fire after Pelopidas released a controversial documentary about the airport last year. St. Louis Rising will need to collect more than 22,000 signatures in order to get a question on the ballot of the November election. I'm Corinne Ruff, St. Louis Public Radio.
Concerns about the coronavirus outbreak are prompting the redevelopment company for the Crestwood Mall property to pull out of the project. Walpert Properties has informed the city it is not moving forward with plans to purchase the property. Crestwood Mayor Grant Mabee says he's still hoping to redevelop the area. He plans to discuss options with the owner. Experts in Illinois say officials must continue to listen to medical professionals on how to reopen the economy amid COVID-19. A poll of economists, sociologists, and health specialists by the University of Illinois Institute of Government and Public Affairs shows respondents are divided on how fast restrictions should end. Researcher Brian Gaines says experts are split on how to handle the pandemic going forward.
These are tough questions. There are reasons why people are coming down to different sides. There's a lot we don't know. And rather than trying to have a once-and-for-all solution, then we should set up a way to get more information out about what kinds of people think.
Researchers at the Institute are also planning to study the pandemic's impact on marginalized communities and the spread of disease during protests. The closing of schools in March because of the pandemic halted many traditions for high school seniors. That includes graduation. Educators, though, have found other ways to honor the class of 2020. St. Louis Public Radio's Ryan Delaney spoke with graduates as they went through a unique commencement.
Jalen Taylor was having a great senior year at McClure North High School until the coronavirus pandemic interrupted it.
The corona did get in the way of it, but, I did finish it. We came out, and today we're graduating.
He talked about what it's been like to be a member of the class of 2020. The last few months have been weird and boring. The 18-year-old says motivation for doing classwork all online was hard to find.
Senioritis hit crazy. It was days I would wake up and just see 8 more assignments, just like, you know what, today is not the day. And I just go right back to sleep. But then I realized, they got due dates on them. I got to hurry up and do these.
18 is a tough age to be at home with your parents. Just as freedom and independence beckons, you're stuck inside. After graduation, Taylor may not see most of his classmates ever again. The sad reality as life moves forward.
You've been with somebody for 4 years, then, you just don't know them anymore. So that's probably the toughest thing about graduating in quarantine.
Outside his fluorescent home, Taylor tries to get the awkward graduation cap to fit over his hair and takes a few pictures with family. Then it's time for Mom, Sharika Coleman, to get everyone loaded up in the car and head to the old St. Louis Mills Mall in Hazelwood.
Instead of a head limit, it's a car limit. So it's like at the drive-in back in the day, whoever you can squeeze in the car can get in on the ticket.
Some families bring 14-passenger vans. Lots of cars are decorated. The sprawling mall complex, now mostly empty and redubbed Powerplex, has hosted graduation ceremonies all week. About 2,700 students plus their families. Cars slowly fill in around a cordoned-off stage and jumbotrons and start the tailgate commencement party.
Congratulations, Soraya. We love you, baby.
Parents, cousins, and grandparents of senior Soraya Cummings were squeezed into this car. Mom, Monique Cummings, says she's thrilled there was a graduation ceremony.
I'm glad they were able to make something happen for them because they've been in the house for the past 2 months. They haven't seen each other, so this is great. They can come out and be able to graduate just like they would have.
The reason we're all in a mall parking lot and not in a gymnasium is to attempt some social distancing. Students walk out of the mall to fill spaced-out seats spread across AstroTurf on the asphalt. Dozens of families abandon their cars and crowd around the fence to cheer. Security does its best to at least keep these crowds small. Speakers take to the podium and students walk across the stage to get their diplomas. Like at a drive-in movie theater, the audio plays on a low-power radio station to listen to in the car.
All right, first up we have Miss Kayla Chanel Anderson.
Honks took the place of applause. All the students are in the traditional caps and gowns, but the class of 2020 also wears face masks with the school logo and graduation year printed on them. Senior Passion Barriere says the day was a little strange.
It's been very memorable, to say the least. I never expected my graduation to go like this, but it's certainly a graduation no one will forget.
For these students, graduation day doubled as a sort of class reunion. They all did their best to follow instructions to only bump elbows, but when someone in a fancy gown says you're graduated,
Again, congratulations, class of 2020.
streamers shoot out of the sky and caps start flying, the instinct is to hug someone, which is what Jalen Taylor does when he sees one of his friends.
Give me a hug. Give me a hug.
I found Taylor afterward. It's not the senior year or graduation he thought it would be, but he made it to the end.
It was amazing. I feel great about myself. I'm happy I'm done with high school.
I'm Ryan Delaney, St. Louis Public Radio.
Our Maria Altman edited that report. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. Happy 20th birthday to my daughter. I'm Wayne Pratt. From the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.